Your beloved New York City may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. You know, I've always said, we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism. And you got a lot of them like that.
Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed.
Potential future New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani called his shot perfectly back when he beat out the deplorable Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary for the position. Now, let's check in to see how his prediction is holding up.
It'll come down to Mamdani versus Sliwa, but a betting man would have to take Mamdani in that. Cuomo and Adams will eat each other alive. Mamdani versus Sliwa. My heart wants Sliwa. New York should want Sliwa. Right. But right now, there is no logical reason to believe this animal, he's an animal, is not going to win.
And when it comes to the local election of the New York City mayor, I mean, this is the most important city in the world. And it's on the verge of electing an open communist who believes in blowing up buses and cafes as a sign of resistance called intifada, and redefining that so people don't really know what it means. If Mamdani wins, he's going to put a lot of people around him who are going to use their power to indoctrinate people in the system in New York, but also to take it national, which you saw when they brought him to Washington, D.C. just a couple of weeks ago, and so-called moderate Democrats are welcoming him with open arms as the guy with all of the energy in the party.
Well, there you have it. These are just two examples of the racist, dehumanizing attacks Mamdani has faced from Fox News alone, and since the start of August. But we'd be lying if we said, just like Mamdani, that we didn't expect these type of attacks to ramp up as the election nears and its popularity remains solid.
I feel like the Democrat Party is on a kamikaze mission. You know, instead of, if the party's going to go down, we're going to take the whole ship with us. The remaining sane Democrats, if there are any, Jessica, you got to weigh the costs of sticking with these social justice suicide bombers, because nobody wants this. The Democrats under Bill de Blasio managed to do to New York City what al-Qaeda never could do, which is destroy our will to fight and destroy our will to live. If this guy even gets close to being elected, dude, you're going to see this go to hell.
Do y'all notice something? All of the attacks we've seen so far have nothing to do with Mamdani's policy positions and his plans to improve the lives of everyday New Yorkers. But they rely solely on straw men and boogeyman arguments to discredit him.
Mohammedanism attacked America. And now 24 years later, in the city where over 2,000 Americans died at the hands of Mohammedanism, is Islam going to get the last laugh? Who actually won if Mamdani wins this mayor's race?
But there is something called assimilation, right? Kind of joining the culture. And there's a lot of room for individuality in our culture. But this is screaming, and he's actually kind of inviting, hey, say something about my clothes. Well, you got it, pal. This is not how we roll here. But, okay, maybe it's part of your appeal, right? You really, really, really want to be different. Okay, I can hack that. Again, if you had the right ideas, I could care less.
You might want to look into something called taqiyya, which is a Muslim tradition where they're allowed to lie to the infidel, basically, to attain power, which is definitely what he is doing here. He will not admit what his true positions are. Of course he'll be for Sharia law. Of course. This guy gets in as New York City mayor. You think you're going to hear more or less Muslim call to prayers 5 times a day in New York City? It's going to take over the entire city. Congratulations. Good luck. Good luck. And over time, that's not going to work out for the Queers for Palestine. But again, good luck, everybody.
The right wing is clearly weaponizing Islamophobia and the Islamophobic beliefs already present within their audience to drive fear and paranoia surrounding Mamdani, and by extension, other Muslim elected officials, the broader Muslim community, and brown people as a whole. Because we know right-wingers will never take the time to properly understand and be able to differentiate between these groups.
President Trump is doing God's work by refederalizing D.C. So what President Trump is doing is reasserting control of not only our nation's capital, but truly the seat of Western civilization. If you are a proud patriot and you love this country and you wish for it to be reflected honorably to the peoples of Earth, then Washington, D.C. must be swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods probably need to be emptied, need to be bulldozed. I believe that there are places that are so crime-ridden and so infested that you just need to, you're just going to have to crack down. You're going to have to do the job, and you're going to have to get the crime out of Washington. That's my personal experience.
This constant appeal to fear of the other and politics of panic really lay the groundwork for authoritarian movements and leaders to consolidate power and control, just like we're seeing right now with Trump's immigration and crime talking points. And he can get as loud and as, animated as he wants, but there's no truth to them. It's like, oh, crime is rising in D.C. Actually, the data shows that's not even true. And there's so many other examples where he spits out lies and nobody really checks him. Some people do, but not enough. And he's not held accountable enough.
President Trump, he's going to make sure not only is it safe, it's a showpiece for the whole world. And that's the right thing to do for the greatest nation on earth.
Do you think 30 days is enough for that, or do you think it would need to be longer?
President Trump doesn't have a limitation on his authority to make this country safe again. There's no limitation on that.
So if Zohran wins the New York City mayoral election, I really hope there is a galvanizing effect on centrist Democrats to move further to the left, to join us progressives in truly fighting back against Trump. But in this day and age, right, where we're seeing so many politicians show no type of backbone, they show a whole lot of cowardly moves, cowardly behavior, I'm not sure. It's hard to trust people, right? Even the ones that you thought were going to be supporting you, right, or backing you or believing in you and protecting you, and Democrats. We already know about Republicans and the Trump party, well, the Trump administration alone. So maybe it will change the narrative and you'll have more conviction from these centrist Democrats to actually fight back against Trump, and not in a performative way. But I don't know. It's really hard to trust politicians these days. But Zohran is one that I think we should definitely get our support behind. Rebel HQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.
Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. Thanks for watching. If you found this reporting and commentary valuable, do us a favor and tap the like button. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That way you'll be notified on your YouTube homepage when we drop a new video. If you are tired of corporate spin and want honest, people-focused news, click the join button below and be part of the fight for a better future. We wouldn't be here without your support. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks again for joining us.